Hey guys, Coach Ben here, bigbenchas.com. And I understand how frustrating it can be when your bench stops moving, right? You start thinking, what am I doing wrong? What can I do better? How can I finally break this plateau? You start thinking about a lot of things. You start getting real frustrated and your sessions start to unravel and just become a whole session of mental torture. All right, I understand the frustration. I've been there myself. Luckily, I know how to break out of something like that and just continue to push for progress. All right, I'm going to show you some few quick tips today on how you could go about doing this. All right, from a technical standpoint, the first thing you're going to want to keep in mind is how are you setting up on the bench press? All right, because if you're in a plateau, it might be a good reason that we could just get the setup going, get you tighter, get you in a better position, and you should see major changes just from that. So that's usually where I would like to start with people first, is I say, show me your whole setup process. As most videos out there, right, everyone trims that part because they just want to get to the press itself. But the press itself is a product of the setup. We need to first look at the setup because that's where the root of the issues are going to lie. All right, so I'm going to show you a good setup process here. You tell me if you're doing any of this, all right? Because if you aren't, you might find something right there that's going to spark huge progress for your bench press. All right, first thing we got to do is get our shoulders in the best position possible. So what we're trying to do is pinch them together, right? I can use the sides here. I'm trying to pinch my shoulder blades together, keep my chest up. I'm going to use my feet to help with this process. Alright, I'm using my feet to bridge up, pinch everything under me. Now, do you look like this when you set up? My face is going red, a lot of pressure is building up. I'm digging my traps into the pad. I'm lifting my neck up, right? I'm lifting my chest. I'm going to get my feet down in a position. I'm keeping push back so that I stay on my traps. Alright, are you doing this? Or are you benching off your upper back and just trying to squeeze your shoulders? Big difference between the two, guys. Okay, that's the first thing I would look at, is how is the setup process. Next thing I would look at, how is the pressing mechanics, and are you keeping leg drive to help keep position? Okay, so what I mean by that, you could be in a good setup, but then your pressing mechanics could be all over. Could be pressing straight up and down, touching really high on your chest, hands out really wide. You know, a lot could be going on there. Or you could look like this, touching too high, all right, elbows flared out to the side. This just hurts me with an empty bar. So what you want to look for, good alignment in the bottom, all right? I'm touching low to my chest, my arms are about 45 degrees out, my wrists are over my elbows. These are good pressing mechanics. If you aren't using these and you look more like this, right, well, there we found an issue right there, okay? Leg drive needs to be constant to keep us onto our traps. We need to be pushing off this bench, okay? So if you're not constantly pushing back, that's a problem. We need to be pushing back like this, like we want to slide ourselves off the bench press. Okay, so those are some technical aspects I will look into off the bat. Programming-wise, first thing, how often are you benching? Okay, and you know, what are the traits of what goes into that? Okay, so if you only have 3 days to train and you got squat and deadlift as well, and you're only dedicating one bench day, it might help to put some benching into your squat day or your deadlifting day as well. If you're training 4 days a week, it might help to have a whole other day dedicated to benching. What I find with athletes, especially those who bench once a week and struggle to constantly make progress, they aren't stimulating that motion enough, that movement pattern. Okay, the bench press is going to recover much more quickly than the squat or the deadlift. All right, for example, a squat, if you have a heavy squat session, how much does that really affect you? You feel that for a while. Not even as much the next day, but 2 days after, it hits you hard, 3 days, 4 days, you're still recovering almost. Bench press, usually by 3 days, you're recovered if you had a heavy volume session. Okay, there's not as much load on the body, it's not as much axial load, so it's not on your spine like that, right? It's a much more recovery-friendly type of movement, even though you're using your whole body, just the way it's loading. So you're going to recover much more quickly. That's why you can keep on stimulating that movement pattern to continue to find success. Are you going too heavy too often? Okay. Are you trying to max out every 3 weeks? Well, you're not going to find great progress like that all the time. All right. You're going to start to wear yourself out, beat yourself up. Are you constantly training over 90%? Are you someone who just kind of works up to something heavy that day and calls it after that? That's not going to fly. You need a properly periodized type of programming where you're not handling max effort all the time. Maybe you're just handling something in the 70% just to get a stimulus, and it's easy to move, but you're going to get a good amount of volume in like that. That's what you need to see progress. It's not always, what can I work up to that's heavy as shit that day? My form starts to break down. All right, I got my training effect. Let me get out of the gym. Doesn't work like that, guys. All right, now are you attacking weak points? Do you know what your weak points are? If you're in a plateau and you can't even tell me what your weak points are, that's a huge problem. All right, you need to know what are you weak at. You need to explore some other exercises. Do you suck at overhead pressing? Do you ever do overhead pressing? Well, that's something you should probably build up. You might see some instant change to your bench press. Do you suck at any type of close grip type benching? Do you suck at pausing off the chest without touching chest? Then there's your issue right there. You got to work on that. I've seen lifters who are close to 400 plus pounds, right? But they can barely hold 225 down near chest level, right? That's a problem, right? There's a lack of development down there, a lack of stability and whatnot. So you got to find those weak points and address them in your programming. Okay, guys, so there's some quick tips, both technique-wise and in your programming, that can help push you past the plateau and get your bench moving again. Coach Ben here, telling you to eat your Wheaties and drink your muscle milk. And you can meet me on a bench.